Hi, back for another non-alcoholic beer review, and the beer I'm reviewing today once again comes from the Athletic Brewing Company, and they're out of both Stratford, Connecticut and San Diego, California, and this is their Free Wave. So they're calling this one a Hazy IPA that comes in at 0.4% alcohol by volume, 55 IBUs, and at the time of review, this can is just over 2.5 months old. So we have another non-alcoholic Athletic Brewing Company beer. The first one I reviewed from them was their Oktoberfest, which wasn't a bad non-alcoholic beer, but it didn't really taste like an Oktoberfest. Kind of just tastes like generic lager. So I saw a couple more of their offerings relatively fresh. This and their All Out, which is they call an extra dark beer. Basically, it's going to be a porter stout. So we'll review that in a couple weeks. But I wanted to get to the Hazy IPA because it is not super fresh. Fresh to some degree, but not super fresh. Just over 2.5 months old. You know, not super fresh. Anyway, the only other non-alcoholic Hazy IPA I had was Samuel Adams Just the Haze, which was the first non-alcoholic beer I reviewed, and it was pretty good. So we'll see if this is as good, maybe better, maybe not as good. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just hoping that I don't get like that non-alcoholic, like kind of off flavor you get typically with non-alcoholic beers. I've gotten about half of the beer so far that I've reviewed. I think this is number 6 as far as non-alcoholic beer reviews on my channel. So, okay, so yeah, it's hazy, but this looks like a Vermont style IPA. It has that like, you know, a decent haze to it, but it's not crazy hazy. Maybe my camera might look a little bit hazier, but in person, it just has a nice, there's a lot of particles suspended in animation. It has that old school kind of like haze to it. It had about just under a finger of a bright white, fluffy colored head. But I would say that, yeah, I mean, it looks like a hazy IPA. So let's get a nose. Okay, that's a little bit weird. I'm getting, so it's funny because the first sniff was kind of strange. The second one, I'm getting like fruity kind of feeling to it. This is brewed with Amarillo, Citra and Mosaic hops, and I'm getting like a nice big juicy orange. There's a little bit of like a peach in there. Maybe like a papaya, honeydew melon, but they're like over-ripened, right? They're stinky. But then there's this weird, almost rubbery type of aroma, and that could be the typical off flavor that I sometimes get with non-alcoholic beers. Yeah, it doesn't smell great if I'm being honest with you. That rubbery kind of weird off note, because right when I smell, I'm like, oh, oranges, you know, peach, papaya, melon, and then I'm like, ooh, what is that? It's like a really over-ripened rotten kind of fruit. A little bit of like a graininess from the base malt. Yeah, might be the worst non-alcoholic beer I have smelled to date. And again, I've only reviewed 6. So anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Okay. Luckily, that nose did not carry over. This is nice. This is pretty nice. Wow, it has a decent bitterness to it, 55 IBUs. A lot of times nowadays with beers, when breweries list their IBUs, I've had 80 IBU beers drink like 20 IBU beers and vice versa. But 55 IBUs, this has a firm bitterness. I think this one's like lower side of medium, higher side of light. I mean, it's non-alcoholic, so I'm okay with that. It's not super watery, which is nice. The mouthfeel, as far as the hazy goes, maybe a little bit more carbonation than I'm accustomed to. Yeah, it has a moderate carbonation on the front of the palate. But as it passes through, it kind of smooths out, becomes slightly creamy, a little bit softer on the finish. The taste, getting a lot of citrus, more than I was getting in the nose. I'm getting a lot of juicy orange, pithy grapefruit, like a white grapefruit, a little bit of like a tangerine mixing in with that orange. That's right at the forefront. As it passes through is a little bit of peach. Not much of that tropical fruit, more of like a peach, maybe mango going on, more stone fruit vibe. And then second half of the palate comes in with this nice resinous, piney, kind of earthy bitterness. It has a nice punch of bitterness. Like I said, this is firmly bitter. This has a nice moderate bitterness to it, which I think I appreciate, especially for a non-alcoholic beer and a non-alcoholic hazy. You probably don't want it where it's like mildly bitter, because I think you probably wouldn't be able to drink more than 1 or 2, or at least I wouldn't, because of the sweetness. Slightly dry, but more bitter than dry. Again, moderate bitterness. Now I'm getting a little bit on the tip of the tongue, like more of like a lemon lime thing, which is kind of interesting. Listen, for a non-alcoholic hazy IPA, this is pretty good. Would I necessarily call this a hazy IPA? Well, it is hazy, right? It's an IPA. This is more in the Vermont style, the old school hazies from 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago that you're just starting to see, where they do have a nice haze look to them, but they're not crazy hazy. And this has more of a bitterness that you would see in an older American IPA or even like a West Coast IPA. I love that they throw the it says average analysis, 70 calories per can, calories again 70, carbohydrates 16 grams, protein 1 gram, fat 0 grams. And then they have the ingredients: water, organic Vienna malt, malted barley, wheat, hops, and yeast. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, this is definitely better than their Oktoberfest for me. I was not a huge fan of that as far as like what they were going for. And I think they did a pretty good job here. I will say the nose is it's horrendous. Like the nose is really bad. I would almost drink this out of the can just because of the nose. And I'm not someone that usually drinks a beer out of a bottle or a can nowadays, but I might do that with this. Not much more to say about it. 0.4%. You can't tell because it barely has any alcohol in it. And for something that's non-alcoholic, and you were craving, let's say you were a big hazy IPA drinker and you had to stop drinking beer and you can only drink non-alcoholic beer, I think this would scratch the itch. I think it would. It's hazy enough. It has enough of those juicy, fruity flavors I think that most hazy drinkers could get down with. Maybe the bitterness would be a contention for, whether or not you really love the beer, but I enjoy this one. Is it better than Sam Adams? I don't remember what I gave that beer. So I think I gave Sam Adams like a 3.75. Is this better? I think I might enjoy this because of the bitterness. I don't know. Free Wave Hazy IPA from the Athletic Brewing Company. I have no issues giving. I'm going to give this a high 3.75 and go 3.85. I think this is pretty good. If I was to rate this to a non-alcoholic, like how well they hit the style, this is like a 4.25, 4.3, I believe. I think that's kind of where it would land for me. But like personal opinion, like I do with my regular beer reviews in terms of ratings, this is a 3.85 out of 5 for a beer, non-alcoholic beer, whatever. I'm going to drink the rest of that. It is 70 calories too, not that bad. Price point availability, I paid, I think like $2 something for that can. And I think even on their website and here locally in the Buffalo, New York area, I think these were like $13.99 a six pack. That's fine. I mean, I'm good with that. Especially some of those Untitled Art beers are like $20 a six pack. So $13.99 a six pack, I'm down with it. Availability, you can buy stuff off of their website, like this beer. So I know you can get it from their website. I don't know where they actually will ship to, if it's all the states or just certain states. But I imagine if you have a decent bottle shop in your area and you're here in the US, you probably can find at least this beer and a couple other beers within their core range. So yeah, I have, like I said, their all out extra dark beer, which I will review in a couple weeks. And I'm happy I'm doing this. The non-alcoholic beers don't get as many views or comments, and that's a key thing for me is comments, and that's okay. But with what's going on with me in terms of my, my medical issues and my health over the last couple of years, I want to work these in so I'm not, drinking too much beer, and I think this is a good way to do so. So anyway, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. Even as I sit here, there's this nice resinous pine, almost earthy feeling on the back of my tongue, which is really cool from a non-alcoholic beer. Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.